So most times people expect their first product to hit it big, and that's just delusion. Because like statistically, your first product has a 99% chance of flopping. Like just meh. Because it's your first product. Right? So you have to have that mental fortitude to know that, okay, this stuff I'm building, it's going to fail. But it's only a failure if you don't learn anything from it. Right? So the number one thing is how many products or how many iterations you are going to do before you become profitable. And most people, because they are very enthusiastic. Like, I'm very scared when engineers becomes indie hackers because they think indie hacking is just writing sweet code and very nice thing. No, the code is like 20% of the thing. 80% is distribution, marketing, and sales.
On this episode, we are joined by Kelvin Omereshone, who has made a career for himself as an independent developer. Kelvin is the lead maintainer of the open source project called Sailsconf and the pioneer of the boring JavaScript stack. Kelvin shares some strong opinions on open source and building projects that might ruffle a few feathers, but we're sure will spark interesting conversations. We also talk about his upcoming tech event, Sailsconf Africa, happening on the 17th of May. But before we get there, here's an episode packed with open source debates, indie hacker inspiration, and a whole lot of Kelvin. All right, enjoy the episode.
Hello everyone, I'm Chuka.
And I'm Emmanuel.
And you're listening to Inside the Techosystem podcast, where we explore Nigeria's tech landscape one conversation at a time. Hey ITT fam, you are welcome back to another episode of Inside the Techosystem. Your favorite podcast boys are back. And we are
Actually,
excited.
we've been back since last week.
But we're back again with another episode. And that's fun.
Yeah.
It was good, man. What's good? How you been?
Good. It's been 1 week. No, actually, 2-3 weeks now. Is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Time flies really fast.
Since you left the trenches?
No, not that. Since we recorded, but it's almost the same day
But it feels like we're getting back, into the flow of things. It took a while to kick off this year, but like I'm glad that we're doing this like more often now. It feels interesting. Small life updates. Emmanuel has been doing accountability partner for me. I've been working out recently and, watching my diet and stuff.
Has it been working out?
I've been working out, but I hope what I'm working out.
The thing that you're working on, has it been working out?
We'll see. Anyways, we brought a fun and interesting guest today. I think today's episode is going to be very, very spicy in a way. And I'm just going to introduce him like briefly, and then he's going to go ahead and talk more about himself, right? So I am not going to say his last name because it's quite long, but I'm going to say his first name. So we have Kelvin on the show. Kelvin is Kelvin is quite popular actually on tech Twitter. I don't know if you will know, but it feels like Kelvin is always getting into some kind of trouble with tech Twitter. But the thing is, we love having guests like these on the show because we get to hear their perspective on a lot of things because social media doesn't really give the whole story, right? So we have Kelvin on the show. Kelvin is an indie hacker, is also lead maintainer for Sailsconf currently, and he's pushing a lot of things in the Techosystem currently. Open source, the need for more people to get into indie hacking and building their own products, and embracing the boring JavaScript stack. And if you don't know what that is, I guess you're about to find out in this episode. So, Kelvin, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you, Shuka. Thank you, Manu, for having me here. Hello, ITT people. I'm stoked to always get to talk about tech stuff, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So, I feel like you're going to introduce yourself fully.
Okay.
First name, last name, because I try to say it, I try to, pronounce it, but like I don't want to mess it up, so I'm not even going to try. So I'm going to let you do it. But while you're doing that, there's a question we like to ask our guests, and we like to know. Everybody loves to hear these stories. And the question is, how did you get into tech?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a fun one. So, because of how strenuous my other names are to pronounce, I go by KOO on Twitter because it's anytime I get
Okay.
invited, it's just weird. So, my name is Kelvin Omereshone. Um, I
Okay.
have been doing web development professionally or software engineering professionally since 2018. Um, I my first encounter to code programming was basic. So not Visual Basic, even like the old Q Basic kind of.
Wow.
So what
Oh
happened
wow.
was, as a mischievous child, I think I was maybe, I don't know how old, but relatively maybe 10, 11 or 9, 10, 11. I stumbled on my dad's old note because I think he studied computer engineering back in school. So he had this fifth case of books. I always love books. So sometimes I'll just go, of course, I'm not supposed to touch it. His daddy's private stuff, but his books. Books are meant to be read. So I found
Mhm.
it and I saw basic code. At that instance, even as a child mind, the only thing that came to my mind was, well, this is how I'm going to tell the computer to do what I want it to do. And that blew my mind. Then it's every day since I've been engineering, software engineering, it's always blowing my mind. And that was literally it for me. So from that age, back then where those good old days where you have to go buy time in the internet, you know, I used to do that to
Yeah.
go check Wikipedia, to just Google stuff. I just love to find out stuff and to read. So I taught myself a couple of things, taught myself a bit of Bash. I know nobody learns, okay, people still use Bash, but nobody really starts web there saying, okay, I want to learn Bash. But I learned Bash script, right? I learned Bash script. I taught myself Python, taught myself a little nerdy thing to do on the computer, just tweaking and playing with the computer. So from that time, after learning that, I wanted to do mechanical engineering because I like math. I still love math. Maths turned me on for some reason. But I never thought I could do computer science as a course or like something I should pursue. But after a while, using my skills and everybody be like, well, you're just so good at this thing. And, so when it got to the time where I was supposed to study something in like Polytechnic, because I went to Polytechnic, I was like, you know what? Let me just do computer science, of course. And I tried it out. I did computer science. It was really good. Every day from then on, I was just learning different languages and all that jazz. Then after I finished my program, the ND program, I didn't take the certificate because I found out I don't need it. So I left it and decided that I wanted a real life
That's it.
experience.
That's already a controversial topic.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry, but apparently my whole life is controversial.
Oh wow.
so so I found out I didn't need it, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to stay a year, just study, and I'm going to work professionally. So apparently, after I made that choice, started learned my web dev skills. Then I got my first front-end job almost a year after making the decision. So from then, it has been getting the job, leaving the job, consulting and building web services for like a crypto project, and then starting my own company, working as DevRel in 2 other companies. And then now I am full-time working for myself. And all I've been doing code and stuff, and it's just been fun. So that's just like my genesis, origin story.
So is your certificate is still with your university till now?
Yeah, I'm never going to touch that stuff.
Oh wow. Emmanuel, what do you
Yeah.
think about that though?
About certificates?
Yes, like
Oh, what am I supposed to think about it?
did you collect your own certificate?
Why won't I collect
But like I feel
I,
like you've never had to use it currently, like
Yeah.
you
yeah,
personally.
true. I applied for masters, but I didn't go further
Oh.
with it.
Oh. Fair, fair, fair.
Yeah, like Kelvin, I got a job, and it's like, yeah, I probably need to make money and not give money away. Money that
Oh
I don't
man.
have.
Ooh,
Are you still
okay.
considering it though in the future?
It depends. But yeah, it
Okay, no,
depends, to be honest. Like,
that's a topic for
yeah,
another day.
yeah, exactly. So you mentioned in indie hacking, or Chuka mentioned it.
Yeah.
Would you just define what indie hacking is? I think
Yeah,
I
for sure.
understand it, but I don't think I do well enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, to a complete beginner, how would you
yeah.
describe that?
Yeah. So I've had to define it a couple of times. I have this building businesses on JavaScript newsletter. The very first issue was literally what is indie hacking, because when I started talking about it, I found out that most people thought it meant Indian hacker, which I don't know why, but
Oh.
it is what it is. It was
Oh.
just it was just crazy, right? So I had to define it, teach people. Even up to today, people still learn, especially when I'm going for the meetups in different places. So indie hacking is originally how all businesses, tech businesses, or brick and mortar businesses even are being made. It stands for independent hacking. So you as a person, you decide that you want to build a business and you're going to start with what you have. So of course, start with a problem. You see a problem, probably most times indie hacking starts with solving your own problem, scratching your own itch, as we call it. And then you now assemble all the skills together to build something that for profit. All right. So unlike VC businesses, which is for growth, indie hacking is from day one for profit, where the business is supposed to do what businesses does, which is produce profit by you giving value. And that's how all businesses started, from HP to Microsoft, even to Facebook. You know, the old famous social network movie where you see how Mark was just hacking on the projects and all the stuff. So that's it. It's like
Yeah.
is the slang word for entrepreneurship, but more in the true sense of the word of a business, which is creating solutions to an existing problem and you get paid for it.
I think indie is also used in music. So you have like
Yeah,
indie.
yes,
No.
exactly. So there's indie films, indie
Indie.
music. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's like
So
independence. Yeah, makes
yeah.
sense.
So you do this full time now? Like you do this full time?
Yes, I do this full time now until I think, well, probably November last year. I've been full time.
Oh, okay. Interested. So I've also noticed that you have developed this. Started really pushing for more indie hackers in the tech ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd like to ask, like, what's your inspiration for that? Because the it's not the norm. Like for people in tech, most people, oh, okay, when you finish from a boot camp or you learn how to code, you should get a job. But
Mm-hmm.
lately, I'm going to look at this tweet last year. You said something about um. All right,
Evidence.
so yeah, there's evidence. There's evidence. So he tweeted, imagine 1 million Nigerians earning $3,000 monthly over the internet. That will materially change our economy, and we all know that our economy needs change at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelvin replies, very true. My angle for all of this is pushing more indie hackers to spring up from the country with the 100,000 indie hackers goal I have. So Kelvin has a goal to get or to build 100,000 indie hackers in the country. Very ambitious goal, if you ask me. And then he goes on to say, I want to see folks build global solutions right from Nigeria and make money from revenue. Make money from revenue from there. Anyone that doesn't know what indie hacking is can check here. He puts a link and he talks about couple ways to, so he comes out with the resources and whatnot. So what has been the motivation for this recently? Because it's very difficult to tell somewhere, look, you know what, just grind on this thing for God
Mm-hmm.
knows how long, and one day it's going to pay off. When
Mm-hmm.
they can just go ahead and try getting a job and they're assured of a salary at the end of every
Mm-hmm.
month. So how do you convince people to get into this? And two, what has been your motivation lately to try and get people, your 100,000 goal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, talk to us about that.
Yeah, actually forgotten about that comment to E. It's really nice. So that's why the internet never forgets. So be careful what you put out there.
Yeah, we keep receipts over here.
Yeah, I can see that. So for me, right, it's more of a necessity than something that is nice to have, because we have these the boot camps and all the programs that are showing talents. They're creating a pool of talents, right, to get jobs. But basic economics states that once the supply is higher than the demand, you're definitely going to suffer. So we are supplying talents to companies in jobs, right? And if we've learned anything from the whole firing spree of last year, is that jobs are an illusion when it comes to security. And we have these Nigerians and these Africans who have been sold the picture that tech is the get rich quick scheme kind of thing. But statistically, not everyone is earning the tech dollars from jobs, right? So I saw this rise of people getting frustrated from their job search because they had unrealistic expectations, which is I start tech in 6 months, I get a high paying job, I'm a baller. And it makes me laugh because it's not really true. Because if we're being honest, not everyone is earning the high money we think they're earning in the tech ecosystem. And even if you are, you know how long it's going to take you to climb the career ladder for you to even, earn something substantial, right? So there's this wrong expectations of what the job is, especially if you're tech skill. But on the other hand, which every other companies or every other ecosystem are doing, we are not pushing it, which is someone will just say like, you know what, I feel like I have this problem and I'm going to work on it. I'm going to build something and then I'm going to sell it to people. This is the norm in the tech ecosystem, but not Nigerian tech ecosystem, sadly, or African tech ecosystem. Ours is just want to work and someone should just pay us. So I was like, I want to see more people who are building solutions. Because think about this. If you build something, of course, there's going to be work, right? Everything we're doing is going to be very, very challenging. But if you build something, there's no ceiling to how much you can earn per month from it. Unlike a job with a ceiling. And one thing I don't like about jobs, right, is that it's an opportunity someone else gives you. And if someone else gives you an opportunity, they can take it back anytime. You don't even have to do anything because you're not in control. It's risky, right? And one thing that scared me last year was me just thinking, what? The only reason most of the tech people we think are balling today is because of remote jobs. What happens, because we've seen this before when Twitter was banned by our government, right? What happens if for God's nowhere, there'll just be like this hiring freeze? We don't want remote workers from Nigeria. What are we going to do with all the people we're shunning out? That scared me. And I'd be like, whoa. We're sort of like putting all our eggs on one basket.
That's scary,
here.
actually.
Exactly. Just if you think about it, you just be like, what? Because how many Nigerian companies can actually pay you what you think you're worth? Right? Because of course we know how the Naira is, right? Like the only grail is to get the dollar. But what if, because now that one is not also in your control. So if something happens to you getting the dollar, you are, you're in trouble. So, but there's something that no one can have a silly on, which is the internet, which is this vast ecosystem of opportunity where people can make millions of dollars from selling icons, fonts, or even templates. I know people who do this. But the thing is that the awareness is not there. Everybody is looking up to someone who has a job, and that is the whole idea. Mine is that I hate jobs. I hate jobs a lot. In fact, even the times when I have to do it, my North Star, my plan A has always been to do this thing, to make solutions that people will pay for. Because you are in control, you get to build a calm business. I was just reading an article by Justin Jackson. He's the founder of Transistor. He was talking about the calm company where you get to do things you want, when you want, and how you want. For example, I could literally wake up on a Monday and be like, you know what, I don't want to work, but this Monday is my Saturday. Then on a Saturday, I could work as hell. I could work in my own time zone, do what is important, do what is important to me, and at the time I want to. Right? But most people don't have that. They are tuned to, just conform to this whole 9 to 5 kind of thing. But if remote work has taught us anything, is that you can work from anywhere. And if you can work from anywhere, then why do you choose to still be an employee where you have this endless potential to create something that can pay you more than your job? There are people who are earning less than $2,000 a month. In fact, I'm even being considerate. But if you have
That's
good
not that I
skills,
plenty money.
exactly, exactly, like I'm saying, I am being considerate here. I am being considerate, but let's just say people are earning that. But sometimes people overestimate how much they need to be comfortable. So if you put all the things together, you create a solution that people want, you can be earning 5K, 10K in a month from media hacking. Trust me, before you get to that point in tech, in a company, it's not that easy because you have to get to levels and levels and levels to get there. But with indie hacking, there's no level, it's flat. The more value you can create, the more you can market yourself, the more you can sell yourself. That's the more money will come to you because money comes as a byproduct of you giving value to a lot of people. So yeah, so that's my proof because we our the and another thing for economics, for the economy of Nigeria, it will be so good where more Nigerians are building stuff that the world needs globally. Then they bring their global dollars into the country. And then we have more purchasing power amongst ourselves. We can also empower people by hiring people around us to do our job. Because India Hacking does not always have to be like, oh, you're the only one. I'm probably the only person that want to work alone for the longest time. But you can hire people amongst you, empower them as well because you're earning this global money and bringing it into Nigeria.
So my question is, so how long can you work alone as an India hacker, right? You just mentioned maybe hiring someone. So that person that you're hiring, shouldn't they also start their own thing and not join and do a 9 to 5?
This is where capitalism comes in.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, right, and it's one of the reasons why I built Hagfish because everything I build has like a philosophy underlying it. So Hagfish is my invoice management platform today. In the sense that, so I have been working with a graphic designer, for example, for like 3 years now. She designs all my logos and all my graphics. I've never seen her. She's in a country in Europe. She's a contractor. She's not a full-time employee. But I think that is the level we have gotten to where you could. So when you say indie hack, it doesn't mean you have to do everything yourself. I don't do my logos myself. She does it. And she sent me an invoice and I pay her and it's all good like that. So if some people want to do the 9 to 5. So if you want to do that, I don't want, if I'm ever going to hire people, I'm going to do like the Gumroad model where everybody's a contractor. Everybody's an IC. So there's job cut out for you. Okay, this is the flat fee you're going to charge because I hate hourly rates. I don't know what that is. So you get to be like, okay, this is how much you're going to pay you for this. Then when you're done, because I believe
I support
in
that. I hate hourly rates too.
Yeah, I don't know why they do so that much stuff, but it is what it is. So that is it. So that's what hiring done. It's like you getting contractors, and this life is not for everybody. There are also people who want to do 9 to 5 for you as an indie hacker. So I know people are comfortable getting a job and just getting paid. Not everybody's an entrepreneur. Not everybody want to take the risk, so you can get them. But for me, I want to until I get. So my benchmark for needing someone is when I get up to like $1.2 million a year for my indie hacking thing. I'll be like, okay, I think we're getting too big now. Maybe we'll get someone. If I'm going to get someone, I need A players, maybe 1 or 2, and they must bring something that I cannot do or I don't want to do anymore. It's not just like I'm coming to pay you money just so that I can grow. No, that's one thing that VC has spoiled hiring, where you just hire people even though you don't need them. So if I'm going to hire you, know that you're bringing something that I really need, and you're coming here to have fun by solving problems. Yeah.
Word.
I think I'm actually very interested in where this is going, right? Because on my social media now, I've been following a couple of people that they are making. Now, I don't know if these numbers are correct or not, but I'm very sure Kelvin knows levels. I know Kelvin will know levels IO. Kelvin will probably know Marc Lue, Mark, and also Bria Sullivan. I think Bria used to work in a FANG company. She's the one that created Boba Story. Right now, these people, they are making a crazy amount of cash. Like they post their revenue and their profits, like, from time to time on social media. I'm like, okay, this is pretty interesting. Right. And I think personally for me, I want to see where it goes because like Kelvin said, we're very much used to people, going to work jobs, after learning how to code or finishing a boot camp or whatnot. So if this is something that becomes normalized, I really want to see where it goes. But speaking about, revenue and whatnot, you don't have to share, but talk to us about Hagfish, the inspiration for Hagfish and how that project has been going so far.
Yeah, for sure. So I started Hackfish out of being inspired by Sahil. He's the founder of Gumroad. So it has this flexible way of working. He has been doing it for like years. Like I said, the whole contractor thing. And made a new product, I think maybe like a year ago, called Flexer. So when I saw Flexer, it was exactly how I wanted to work. Contractors, they send you invoice, you pay them and all that kind of stuff. You get contracts signed and all that stuff. So I wanted to be like, oh, I need this for my company. So I hop up to the website and wanted to sign up. Then I saw it's for only people in the US. The classic stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, this is bummer. But anyways, I think I know
Yeah, the
enough.
classic stuff.
Yeah, the classic stuff. So I'd be like, okay, I think I know enough to want to do this. And of course, add my own spin to it. And I started with the heart of everything, the operation, which is invoicing. And even now, like when I worked on Hackfish, that was when I'm like, well, people don't really know how to send good invoices. And if the invoice are really going to be used for what they're used for, it's not going to hold water because we have some very weird things happening in there. People using their names as the person who's going to receive it. And, there are laws around that. But it's just, people don't really know. So there's a lot of education to do in that part. So I started with Hackfish Invoice, which is like so before Hackfish, my workflow is if I have clients, for sponsoring TKYT or I have like a consulting job, I would go to Google Docs, create the invoice, maybe duplicate an older one, create it, then export as PDF. Then I go to my email client and send it to them. Then if you ask me whether I invoice this in the future, it's lost because it's somewhere in there. I can't find it. I can't keep track. I don't know what's up with it. So with Hackfish now, I just have to go there with the Hackfish invoice editor, just create a new invoice, and you could add clients. Then you could pick the client you want to send the invoice to, and then you could send the invoice via email directly from the platform. So this is like the first MVP working version that I've been using. I have used it to build like almost 100K already. And it has been really good for me. And there are other people really using it as well. So right now is really slow because first of all, it's if you don't have clients, you're not going to invoice vacuum or ghost, right? So it's a platform I want only creators who are actively creating, right? They are not working for free. These people are like sending 5 to 10 invoices per month. They are really, really, their skills in demand. So right now, I think over 60 people signed up. I did discount, so paid users is really underwhelming right now. I think it's like maybe it's not even up to 10, but it's a long-term thing for me. All my projects are very long-term because I want to see them to the end of the internet, really. So my goal is to get 1,000 paying customers. And with that, I'm even chill because 1,000 paying customers per month is, it's good money. And with everything I'm doing, still is going to work. So, no, it is sweet money because...
how much are you charging?
So,
let's do
how,
some numbers.
how much and how do you decide how to charge for a product?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have, if somebody were to ask you that, do you have any idea?
Yeah. So the thing, right? The honest truth is you charge what you are comfortable with. Like there's no math to it. So you charge your worth. And I've been doing this for a while. This is not my first product. I've done Sailsconf.com. I've done Gopi.Sailsconf.com. This is like my third SaaS kind of ish. So I kind of like have a feel. So what I'm charging. So monthly, you are two plans. Your creator plan and the professional plan. So creator plan is $9.99, which is like $10. And the professional plan is $15.99, which is like $16. So if we say people are doing the professional plan and we have 1,000 times 16, that's 16K per month. And that is the poorest. In fact, if Hackfish only does 1,000 paying customers, it is so poor, but I'm so rich. That is the nature of the game. So how many people
what do you think?
like just think about it. How many people make 16K per month in salary? Right?
That's actually something to think about, actually.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
That's the infinite nature of indie hacking. It is just endless. And that is the poorest. In fact, Hackfish will be a failure if it does this amount, but I'm so rich. I'm a rich failure.
Fair enough. That's interesting actually. That's
So
interesting.
far so good. What I've been hearing about indie hacking is mostly the pros, like the
Mhm.
benefits and the advantages over doing a 9 to 5. Of course, that's not all there is, right? Would you like to tell us about the cons as well, some of the challenges that maybe you have faced while doing this, and maybe tell us a few stories of when you almost maybe quit and went back to 9 to 5 or something?
Mhm. So the thing is, there's a reason why we don't pick gold on the floor, right? We have to dig for gold because gold is valuable. So anything that is going to make you a rich failure, like indie hacking, is going to be stressful. There's going to be roadblocks. It's all part of the problem solving, really, right? So you have to innovate
Mm,
over your complexity, your roadblocks, and all the bad things. So one thing is people, that's why people always go to the VC, right? Because most people don't believe that you can build something with $0. Right? There's always like the need for money and the need for keeping the lights on. So most times people expect their first product to hit it big, and that's just delusion. Because like statistically, your first product has a 99% chance of flopping. Like just meh. Because it's your first
mm,
product, right? So you have to have that mental fortitude to know that, okay, this stuff I'm building, it's going to fail. But it's only a failure if you don't learn anything from it, right? So
yeah.
so the number one thing is how many products or how many iterations you are going to do before you become profitable. And most people, because they are very enthusiastic. Like I'm very scared when engineers becomes indie hackers because they think indie hacking is just writing sweet code and very nice thing. No, the code is like 20% of the thing. 80% is distribution, marketing, and sales. So that skill of selling, you have to learn it. And the thing is, it's not even taught. Even people that went to business school, they don't really know how to like do active, like to sell to other people. It is an art of persuasion. You have to be like the jack of all trades when you're running your indie hacking business, for example. You got to be the marketer, the salesperson, the advertiser, the builder, the support. And it's like you're abandoning your
Mm,
9 to 5 for a 24/7 because for the early days, you have to work the extra to get the thing out the gate. Right? But the cool thing is after that, you literally will be printing money because Hagfish, for example, I could be sleeping and people will be signing up if I do my job really well and the value is really appealing to people. People, I was sleeping and I can wake up to 5 signups and I'll be like, oh, good money, right? But that is the thing. Like it is very it's almost volatile in the early days because you don't know how much you'd earn. There's no predictability. So if you like like things being if you like to predict things, probably salary is good for you. But me, I
Mm.
like the chaos. I like uncertainties. Like because I know with
mm,
uncertainties, a salary is final. At the end of this month is what you earn. But for this, I could earn
Whether I
zero.
like it or not.
Exactly. Whether
yeah.
you like it or not, this is it. This is it. What you earn. And be honest, sometimes you've only spent half of it in debts before it comes. So now you are earning half. Now you're earning half. So it's just like that. So but with indie hacking, I could wake up and be 50K rich, or I could wake up and I just made like maybe $500, or worst case scenario, I've earned nothing for that month. It's part of the game. It's like building
Mm.
a business. You're taking on risk for infinite reward. But if you play your cards right, you learn, you do the right things, which is marketing, distribution, sales. You're definitely going to enjoy this a great deal. So that's like the down part, the way where it's uncertain. Nobody knows if you're going to win or nobody knows if you're going to flop. I like that realm because that means I can control it
Mm,
and I can make the uncertainty work for me. Because if there's two sides where I could win or lose, I'm probably going to do the work that's going to make me win. Unlike with a job where there's no
Mm.
win or lose, you just get a salary. Yeah, thank you for working today, or you get fired, which is also an outcome, right? That's part of the game. So yes,
Oh
so
wow.
that's it.
Man, Kelvin is dropping some gems here today. Okay. All right, thank you. All right. So those were some some parts of the job that is
Mm-hmm.
not like a lot of people may not want to grind through because I mean
Mm-hmm.
working working multiple people's roles can be very
Mm-hmm.
daunting, right? So you
Yeah.
have to put in the work. So say I'm a newbie developer, and I just maybe came out of a boot camp, and I just learned how to code, and I listened to this episode, I listened to this podcast, and I say to myself, okay, you know what? I'm not applying to any job. I want to be an indie hacker, like Kelvin, right? So what
Mm-hmm.
are the steps you'd say someone like that can take to kind of chart them for success,
Mm-hmm.
right? To for them to get the best chance possible at succeeding, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of what can they use to inspire their projects or what they're going
Mm-hmm.
to work on? Or I saw an article recently that talked about why you should focus on Google Trends, like whatever
Mm-hmm.
Google Trends are saying that should inspire your next project and whatnot. Like
Interesting.
so, yeah.
Let me note
I
that down.
mean, there there are a couple of things that people take into account before working on something. So, for a complete newbie that says, you know what, I have this power in my hands right now, because I mean there are definitely advantages on working at a job, and there are also advantages on going to do your own thing. Uh, what would you say someone like that? What steps should someone like that take, right, to give them the best chance possible?
Cool. So first things first, you have to de-risk yourself. And this is what I mean by it, because like I said, you might not make money in your first project. That is almost guaranteed, right? So you have to de-risk yourself. Whatever leverage you have to make it work for you. And by leverage, I mean, so for example, you just quit bootcamp. Maybe you are very young, you're still staying with your parents. That is an unfair advantage you have to lean into, because you're not worrying about paying any bills. You're not worrying about what you're going to eat, because trust me, you cannot innovate on an empty stomach. All right. So if that is a way of de-risking yourself. And sometimes it's good to have, because financial diligence is something I really want to talk about, like, and more people to understand. Because you see, we have people who earn a lot every month, and then they don't have savings, they don't have emergency funds. So when life happens, like they lose their job, for example, they are thrown into this world of chaos. And I think that chaos, you did it to yourself. Because as an adult, as a responsible person, you should have money set aside for life occurrences that you cannot control. Because life will happen to you every time. So if you're coming from the bootcamp, I'd probably say you get a job, because in your job, you get a job to learn, not to earn. Of course, they're going to pay you, but while they're paying you, try as much as possible. Especially if you're de-risking yourself, you're still with your parents. Please don't move out. It's not the time to move out. Like, keep your pride, stay there for like a year, save money, right? So that when you want to innovate, right, you could now take your time to like think through. Because most people start indie hacking because they are hungry, and that's the wrong time to start. Like, it's like you getting ready when you're supposed to be prepared. No, seriously, because I've seen it like sometimes I see people be like, okay, I have this idea, and when you look at it, nah, this person needs money, and that is not it. Money is not the goal. Money is a byproduct of you really solving the problem. So when you're not focused on solving the problem, you're going to start doing all the wrong things, focusing on all the wrong things, getting vindictive. Yo, people are not supporting me by buying my stuff. Dude, people will only buy your stuff if they need it. Nobody throws their money in thin air. Just like,
Thank
oh,
you
well,
for
I just...
saying that. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, they're like, I've seen all these things, and it makes me laugh, because I'm like, we really need to do some education, right? Because you don't want people to be like, just to support you. Like, sometimes people come to me with their product and they'll be like, okay, support me, tweet about it. I'm like, dude, I don't use your stuff. I don't like it. I'm not going to tweet about it. What you want is to find a crowd of people who like your stuff enough to talk about it. Don't come and look for shortcuts here. That's what most people want.
Word.
They just want to be like the shortcuts. But no, like, when people talk about my stuff, I'm not even there. Because why? They use it. They have a skin in the game. It's something they like. Like, that is what you want to get to. Not just like, you know what? No one is supporting me. I'm a victim. Kelvin said do indie hacking, but now Kelvin is not even tweeting my work. But your stuff still sucks. Right? It is like, it just...
I feel like that is so personal. I feel like you said it out of a specific thing that happened.
No, come on.
Yeah, it is human behavior where we push the responsibility of success to someone else because we feel like we cannot do it on our own, and that's not cool. All right. So what you want is
so you de-risk yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after de-risking, what would you do next?
After de-risking, you start being an interesting person. Most people they are not interesting.
Oh.
Right? And you cannot solve an
I'm learning
problem.
so much right here. I need a notepad or something.
So you cannot solve an interesting problem if you're not an interesting person. And how do you be an interesting person? By following your interest. Right? Like let's look at Levels, like you mentioned, for example. Levels' biggest project is Nomadless. How did that happen? Levels was a nomad. He wanted to travel the world and work. And as he was traveling the world, he had this interesting idea to like, you know what, I'm going to do is Google Sheet. I just put in some factors. So this is the city I visit. This is the cost of living there. This is the internet speed and all those kind of stuff. He did it and he shared it online and forgot to make it read only. Woke up the next day, people are already adding other value. Be like, oh, wow. This is interesting. Other people like it. So let me turn it into a business. That business is, the last time I checked, I could put this off right now because Level is, the last time I checked, that business is worth a spreadsheet accident. Like that is Level's business. Level's business is a spreadsheet accident that is worth all his businesses combined $1 million plus. So Nomadless is worth $30,000 every month. The accident.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Can you see?
I would like make accident happen to me.
Yeah. And accidents most things are accidents, right? Accident only happens when you're doing interesting things. For example, look at Slack. Slack was an interesting accident too. They wanted to build a game. They know that the game was going to suck. So they'll be like, you know what? This chat we were using to build the game, let's release it. Slack. Millions of dollars worth of a company. So that's just it. But when you are do interesting stuff, follow your interests. Don't be this, like some people just want you to tell them anything. Like I did a poll. I said that, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? And someone told me, you're supposed to lead by telling us what you want to do first. I'd be like, dude, be your own person. Why do you need me to tell you what to do? Why do you need me to tell you whether you want to be right or what to be rich? Like people want that.
Being your own person is going to lead you to discover so much about yourself.
Exactly. So that's the way I want people to get to. So after you've de-risked yourself, start solving things that interest you. So I followed my interests. Like just look at the journey of my interests. Started with web dev, got my first job as a front-end engineer. Thrown into the chaos of web development. When I saw Git, it was like rocket science. I learned Vue and I was like, oh, okay, why do we even need Vue again? But after a while, I love Vue. Then from there, I got contracted to work on a Web3 project. I built a D app, which is a decentralized app. I built a web service. I also built a Telegram bot at that time. Then moving forward, I was tasked to build a web service. And at the time, I moved from using PHP to JavaScript for everything. And then the most famous thing was Express. And we're like, wait, but I like Laravel, like everything it gives us. Just a Laravel for JavaScript. This is my search, found a couple. I found Sales, it stuck with me. Looked at it, everybody said it was dead. But I like this thing. I'm my own person. I don't need to pay everybody to tell me that to use something. I'll be like, you know what, this is what I'm going to use. Then I started using it. I was shipping really fast. I hit every deadline. The backend was ready and it was all good. I like how it felt. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a community for this. Started the community on Discord. Then I saw laracars.com. I'm like, people need to learn about sales. I created Sailsconf.com, created a company. The Sailsconf company, created Sailsconf.com, launched it, did the first couple of courses. And doing that, Mike McNeil, the maker of Sales, noticed me because I couldn't shut up about it. I was just following my interest and I was telling everybody about it. Then someone reached out and asked him to build something for them. He couldn't do it. He pushed the job my way. And that was the first time I made $50,000 at once from a gig. Following my interest.
Wow.
Yeah, following my interest.
Word.
Then from there, I was working and working.
Did you
and
build
when
it in
Mike
sales?
became of course, I built a service in sales. So it was to build a service and also build a mobile app. At the time, I was a mobile developer. In fact, I wrote Flutter and Dart for like a very long time, even Swift and iOS. I've done a lot, just following my interest. So I built it with sales. Everything was good, made the money. It changed my life. I was able to do some other couple of things. And then
you even became more interesting after that money. I'm very sure.
Of course. You become more
money makes you more interesting, definitely.
Exactly. After that, I decided to do the sales conference. So I started Sailsconf, right? And I was doing it virtually. So I've done it 3 years in a row virtually. And doing that consistently, following my interest, even though everybody said, why are you using sales? Sales is dead. In the last year, June, Mike announced me as the lead maintainer of a project that is so big. Postman Paystack uses it, bank uses it, airline uses it. It blew my mind if it was even possible for me to even be in the core team. That was what I was even begging for. But you know what? I just want to be in the core team and help move this project forward that have changed my life. But now I'm leading the project from just following my interest. And from doing that, I created the Boring Stack, which is now my biggest open source project. The Boring Stack, in turn, empowered me to create Sailsconf.com because I've been using it closed source for like 2 years before I launched it to the world. The Boring Stack empowered me to create Sailsconf.com and also create Hagfish.io because Hagfish.io is built with the Boring Stack. And from there, I just kept following my interest, and everything that has happened was out of my interest and what I want to see in the world. So when people tell me got to follow what's trendy, I just laugh at you because anything that is trendy means that you're late because people already know about it. People already know about it. So how is it going to set you apart? You're late.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so we have de-risk yourself. We have follow your interests. Any other steps you'd like people to
the step is please deprioritize the code. The code is a means to an end. It's not the end. Especially for developers, they are so engrossed in that code. But I don't like code. Okay, of course, I have an engineering part, which code is art for me. But code is a tool. It's supposed to do something. We don't write code for the sake of writing code. We write code to solve problems. In fact, I said developers are just glorified support staff because all you do is create this thing that the salespeople are going to use to sell and make money, then pay you. They are. If you think about it, they're not selling your code.
That makes sense.
Your job is to support the people who are making money.
True.
Think about it. Right? So you need to remove yourself, stop being emotional about your code. What you should concern yourself about is marketing and sales. Learn how to sell. Because if you learn how to sell, it's going to help you everywhere. Learn how to make good deals. Like the deal that I made for Project 50, which is my secret project, which I'm going to unveil July 3rd. It's out of this world. I've never heard about it being done before. So you learn how to do that, learn how to market yourself, and learn how to use your leverage. And you need to make yourself trustworthy because people will buy from you out of trust. Because there are always going to be competitors. But the more people trust you, and people only trust you if they have seen what you can do for free. All right? So there's this famous saying, which is, give out the secret, sell the implementation. Most time people are always scared of sharing their idea or that tip. Me, I share everything. Everything about how I work is all free. Everything is all out there. But you find that people don't really have the time to do the implementation. And that's what they're going to pay you for. Nobody's going to pay you for secrets. You're not a snake oil salesman. People pay you for implementation. And that's why you see something like Tailwind CSS. Even though these are just CSS classes, it's millions of dollars worth of business to Adam Wytham and the Tailwinds Labs company. He's making a business selling TSS classes, literally. So that's it. So you need to know how to market because
when you think about it that way.
Yeah, of course, that's what it is. But he's a good, in fact, he's more a marketing person when it comes to selling because your code skill is not what's going to make you the dollar bill. It's your selling skills, going to conference to talk about the things you're doing, how to write a good tweet that people can relate to. I think it was Ben is the founder of Tuple. He said, if you can't get 20 people to like your tweet, then you're probably not very good at sales. Yeah, because liking your tweet doesn't cost anybody anything. But if they can't like it, that thing that is even free, that action to just click a button, you're going to tell me they're going to swipe their credit card? You got to be kidding me. So you have to learn how to sell, how to really speak to people, right? How to tell a story, how to make things relatable. Those are the things you have to focus on more than your code. Because if you start with code, you're going to over-engineer and build something people don't want. In fact, you're going to build a solution looking for a problem. I've seen it. People do it a lot, and it just makes me laugh. I'm like, oh, God. No one's going to buy this stuff, all right? So start with the business side of it.
Have you ever been wrong? Have you ever been wrong? You see something like no one is ever going to use this, and then the product starts getting traction.
So far, no, and I'm sad because I really want to be wrong on that end. Because when I say no one is going to use this, I'm saying no one's going to use this in this version that it is right now. This state is not usable. You can do things to it. You can make it better because failure is not final if you can pivot. For example, Notion was a big failure when it started. The maker had to iterate on it twice before Notion became what it is today.
Oh, wow.
All right? So there's no final failure.
I need that story.
Yeah, like I could share it. Like it's a very crazy story. Like good to see how they had to leave.
Yeah, I think Notion was supposed to be a website builder at first.
Exactly. So
other things.
So they pivot to because his idea was a no-code tool for you to build anything you want. But nobody wanted that. People want to go to developers to build something sophisticated for them. But if you map the entire experience with an editing tool, it stuck more. So he had to, he failed. In fact, Notion was a failure. And then he now went to rethink it and gave us the Notion we see today. So failure is not final. It's only you. If you quit, that's when it happens to you that, okay, you failed. But if you fail now, you could be like, oh, this sucks now. It's not me. You're not the one who sucks. The thing you built sucked. So you have to find a way to make it not suck. That's it. Yeah.
That's a lot of things in one, actually. That's a lot of advice, actually.
Kelvin can be a basketball coach.
Yeah. You have the potential. You have to explore that interest,
Yeah, man. Okay. Yo, congratulations on being lead maintainer for Sales.js. I think it's very interesting. And I cannot imagine the amount of issues and, pull requests that you have to deal with. But I think it's very interesting actually seeing somebody from Nigeria, seeing someone from Africa leading an open source project such as Sales, right? So I want to ask you, how do you think open source currently is doing in Nigeria, in Africa, right? How do you think the open source space is operating? Like, is it good? Is it bad? Is it getting there? And how do you think we can do open source better in Africa in general?
Yeah. We're getting to my spicy zone. I must warn you. Currently, I think we're failing in open source in the continent. And the reason why we're failing is the same. It's a very simple problem because like I will tell people, for every successful open source person you see today, there are literally thousands you don't know of. They are successful in the sense that you depend on their tools, but you don't know about them. So in Africa today, most people want to do open source because they have been sold that if you do open source, you get a job quicker, or open source is a means to an end, blah, 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 blah. Or this person was doing open source and they were hired. I also was hired in that realm. But it is called a survival bias because this is not the norm for everybody. So we are failing at doing open source the way it should be done because everybody today tell you to contribute to open source. I'll tell you, don't contribute to open source until you have used the open source tool to solve a problem for yourself. Because that's when you will know what to contribute, not fixing a typo.
I
Not
totally agree. Sorry to cut you short, but when I started my career, I decided to use this framework called Adonis.js. So it was relatively new at the time. And while using it, I realized they had some holes that they needed to fill. So I raised a couple of PRs on the open source project. So yeah, I agree. Because you can't make meaningful contributions if you don't know the internals of the framework.
Yeah, I did a whole YouTube video about it, which is to don't contribute to open source, man. Because people just, you see, the thing about how life gives you reward is when you're genuinely adding value. When you are being, like, most people, they want to game life, and they come to me, like, the thing is, I could just smell a bullshitter from like a mile away, where you're just trying to get something, and I just be like, dude, this is not how it works, right? Like, this is not how it works. Like, I tell people, don't contribute to my open source project if you're not using it. I don't want it. That's why I am a very rugged maintainer. If you're not using Sales, if you're not using the boring stack, I don't want you to contribute, because your first contribution is you using the project and being a power user, because that is when you'll be able to know what the project needs. That is when you have imbibed the ethos of the project in you. You understand how to now contribute to it, to add value to it. All right. So what we have now is people doing open source as a rite of passage. People just, in fact, at this point, there should be an open source bootcamp. I'm pretty sure there are, where they just tell you how to win and succeed in open source, and they tell you all these things. In fact, people do everything else surrounding open source than what really matters, which is you joining this team sport and making a gift that was given better. Open source is a gift. Every open source software you've seen are people's sweat and time and years making something better. So this gift of open source, once you've been able to be blessed by it, by using it, your moral obligation is to give back. But you cannot give back when you've not used the thing. All right. So start with usage. That is where I want to say, I want to see more people be experts in React so much that they can make meaningful contribution to React, and not just tell me that React is better than Vue. That's the only contribution they make on X, because they always know that's the only thing. And if you ask this person that's telling you that React is better than Vue, how long have you been using it? They'll tell you, I just started. I'm a newbie. How the hell does a newbie telling me that React is better than Vue? I've been doing this for 7-8 years, man. How the hell do you know?
Oh, right? My God.
It's crazy. Right? So that's it. So you got to be a user.
Okay. I think I agree with that take. Being a user, because Kelvin makes a great point where he says that we're not doing open source right in Africa. And I can kind of trace it back to how we were introduced to open source years ago, right? So it was like, oh, open source is this great new thing, and it was just a bunch of talks of people trying to get us into open source. But like, the way we were introduced to it, I don't think it was the best. It was the best way to introduce us to it, right? And now people are very, very, very convinced that fixing a typo is a contribution to the entire framework, to the entire open source framework.
Yeah, to go add it to your resume.
Like, people are very convinced that if they do that, then they're good, right? So I think our education, we need to be a little bit re-educated, right? And with all the events that we have concerning open source, or not even just different events, right? I think we need to I think Kevin's approach is actually, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because if you consistently use something, right? Say if you go to work every single day and you pass Third Mainland Bridge, you start to notice, oh, okay, these are where the cracks are, or this is where this needs improvement.
That's an interesting analogy.
Yeah, but if you literally do not pass Third Mainland Bridge or whatever, you don't go to work, you don't use that route, right? If people were having a conversation and they were talking about that thing, you may not really
Mm-hmm.
know how to, you know. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a good take. But I also want to talk. Speaking about takes, I want to talk about hot take Kelvin right now. Right,
Oh wow.
hot hot take Kelvin is a very interesting personality on Twitter, right? And
Yeah.
from time to time, you'd see a tweet from Kelvin, and it would have so many reactions to it. Most times it's like pushbacks, right? Like, what do you mean? Someone is just, and then his tweets will have so many quotes and whatnot. And I want to talk about that, right? So I have a couple of tweets here. I think there's one I
Oh
don't
my
have,
god.
but I think I still remember it. So Kelvin tweeted this. He tweeted this last year. So I think from the episode we can tell that Kelvin is a view guy, right? And he doesn't have time for React stands, which is fair. Um, I'm a man of peace, right? If you are React or you are Vue, that's okay, that's fine. But like
Yeah.
I lean more towards Vue because I think I'm just more comfortable with it. So
Mm-hmm.
Kevin says Vue is the best UI framework on the planet. That's what he tweets. Now I don't have the original tweet here; I just have a screenshot. But that tweet had so many reactions. Kelvin came back the next day and then he said, "Seems some folks don't like me posting this. Let me fix it." And then he goes ahead to tweet, Vue is the best UI framework on the planet. He tweets that like 4 or 5 times. He just repeats himself. There's another one that he says, starting tech as a product manager is delusional, right? I want him to defend himself on the
Ooh.
show here, right?
Hmm.
And I
That
think
one
there's,
got to
there's
stink.
another one. Yeah, there's another one recently where he did a random poll, right? I think about HTML forms.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody replied that someone replied with a screenshot of the poll that this doesn't matter. He's never going
Yeah.
to ask this in an interview, something, something, something. And then Kelvin replied, this was actually very interesting to me. Kelvin replied that because when the person takes the screenshot, the screenshot has the result of the person voting. So the person voted for the correct answer. Meanwhile, there were a lot of people that were failing the answers, right? So Kelvin replied, I need you guys to understand that this person did not fail this answer. You did. Right? So
Oh my god.
so it was almost like a wake-up call that okay, yes, fine. He's not going to ask you this in an interview, but at least he knows it, right? So I think there's a whole thing going on around, people being tech influencers or,
Mm-hmm.
tweeting things that are kind of controversial and they're just going to get people riled up because
Mm.
starting tweeting Vue is better than React is literally going to start a war in some places on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about hot take Kelvin and how do you respond and how do you react to a lot of these things? And do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy the comments that you get or people coming at you saying, oh, you can't say that, that's wrong, you know? So talk to us about that for a minute.
Oh my god. So to start with, right? Like one thing people don't get, I don't never start out and be like, you know what, I want to drop an hot take. I don't even think about my ideas as hot take. I think of them like about because before I say anything, I have to think about it, and I've pondered on this thing for so long. So when I say something, it's more of my opinion guided by ample reasoning. So when people react the way they do to it, I'll be like, okay, that's interesting. But of course, I'm not going to back down because I say what I said. I'm going to own it. So the I think the first one, that's the tweet about the whole what was it? The Vue one. That one is like, see, I've seen a lot of people do it for other things. So one thing about React folks that makes me a little bit cringy, right? You would never see me just wake up and just be like, okay, I want to attack these guys, right? Because they always say Kelvin attack React and blah, blah, blah. But when they want to talk about React, they're going to like have this delusion that it's the king of the blah, blah, blah. So when I start poking holes at their fantasy, I start getting angry because when I poke holes, if you look at it, it's literally just showing you the facts. So when I say Vue is the best framework in the planet, people have literally said that about what they use, right? I said it.
Yeah.
you can go and say in your own tweet, Next.js is the best framework on the planet. Nobody's going to sue you. It's your word. You say what you want, right? But when I say they have to, no, you can't say this. And it's very interesting where you say we have people can like what they like, right? But when you say React is good, everybody's fine with it. But if I say Vue is good, everybody's angry at it. How is that even track? Is it double standard? Because if I can say Vue is good, you could say React, and I don't attack you. So why can't I just say, okay, this is the thing I like? So it's very weird. Yeah. So I think in their mind, they think React is the holy grail, but it's not. It's just one tech that it has a lot of flaws because it's like the first mover. So there's first mover flaw that it has. It gave us a lot of things. I wouldn't write JXS, but I understand the appeal of it, the DSL of JXS, and I understand why people like it. But React is causing more harm than good. I think I made that tweet too. So that one was horrible. I was like, React is hurting.
I didn't say that.
And people were like, what? Why would you say that? Yeah, because it is hurting web dev. Because these boot camps and these people will start off teaching people React without them knowing JavaScript. So these lots don't even know where React starts and when JavaScript ends. It is just this. In fact, oh my God. Like, I know people who feel like the .map method in the arrays prototype is a React thing. I'm not even kidding. They think so.
Really?
Yeah, like I'm not even joking. I'm not even capping.
Insane.
And that stuff makes me mad. Because once you don't learn a language first, you're an handicap. You are as limited to the React you know. And some people have shitty React skills. They know. That's why there's always 1,000 articles on how to use effect, how to use memo. Jesus Christ. Nobody knows how to do React right. Why does nobody know that? Because like you see people arguing about one thing. Once somebody will tell you, this is the right way to do it. The other person, no, this is the right way. Even experienced developers get React wrong. So what is going on? So why are you forcing these newbies to enter this box in the disguise of, you're going to get a job? Oh, come on. How many React developers have jobs? Let's be honest. Just can that argument. That one does not even... It's not there. So it's bad practice. It gives you bad practice out of the gate. And these are people that don't even have engineering background. And now they're all handicapped because they started with React. They don't even know how the web works. They don't have to use URLs anymore. They just make this Frankenstein monster of a website that makes me want to cry. I want to pull out my eyeball. Like, it's hurting the web so bad.
Really pissed at these people.
I think I agree. I agree on the aspect that there are just so many different ways to do things. Because every single person has their own opinion. Like you would never see two separate code bases written in React that look the same. You would never see that.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's one of the things that I loved about Vue, because I also wrote Vue at the beginning of my career.
Yeah.
It was simpler to use. Like you didn't need to know 1,000 ways to do one thing.
Yeah. Like
so
everybody's code has template script styles. Like that's good. But you look at some React code, and I mean, I'm not coming for React folks, but it has definitely
I'm coming for them.
It has definitely made some things more difficult, right? Because for example, if you're using Vue, you're either getting Vuex or Pinia, right? Most times these days, Pinia, right? You move from one company to another company that writes React, and maybe you've used one state management tool in your previous company. The next company has another different state management tool. The next company uses context API. The next company uses another state management. And then they're just like, it's just endless, right? So you literally have to keep learning different stuff, right? So, yeah. So talk to us about the product manager tweet.
Oh, yes,
I want to hear that one.
Yeah, that one, I think that one was the worst hate ever, because everybody, I think people shared it, and everybody and their uncle and their aunties were all up in my business, and they were like, no, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. But think about this. Think about this. How does one become a captain of a ship? Let's use the captain analogy because I like maritime thing. Have you ever seen someone that has never sailed before now becoming a captain? is the one that is being trusted with the lives of everybody on board? Isn't that what a product manager is supposed to
when
be?
you say it that way.
No, but let's use common sense. When you
I
say
feel
someone
like
is
I'll let Emmanuel take this one
Mhm.
because Emmanuel has worked with many more product managers than I have. Right. So I think I want Emmanuel to take this.
That's
So
true.
yeah, Kelvin, keep going.
Yeah, for sure. So the product manager is supposed to be the one who leads these people, everybody in the product, right? But how can you lead people you don't know how to speak their language? And when people go to like people get started with web dev and become producers, we've all heard this, how we see people lead very shitty ways because they don't know what the heck they are talking about. They don't know how to communicate with developers. They don't know how to communicate with the designers, but they want to start their tech journey being product managers. I don't know how that works. In fact, how do you train a CEO?
How do you train a CEO?
Actually, you don't.
You
become a CEO.
Exactly. So you become a product manager after working your way up. Whether you want to be a developer, be a designer, you have to be part of the product you are managing. You have to know how to speak the language. But if you are out of the gate becoming a product manager, because you are going to oversee people and their chaos, because like Sarah Johansson will say, people are not pure function. If I meet you today, it doesn't mean the same way I see you now is how I'm going to see you tomorrow, because your moods will change. Things that happen in your life. You don't have to get people to get to deadlines. You don't know what to cut out of the product to actually make, okay, let's get to market really quick, because you don't understand the damn thing. You are just guessing and you are starting your career in a leadership role. That is a nightmare. And I have seen, people have told me, even in that, people came to a DM and tell me how their product failed because they hired a beginner product manager. How the fuck are you a beginner product manager? How does that even work?
I'm not going to comment on this.
So I think, yeah, if you say it that way, a product manager truly is a leader, basically, because you are in charge of making sure a product is built, and you are going to be leading engineers, product designers, and many stakeholders. So in that sense, yes, it makes sense that you should get some other forms of training before you become a product manager. Not that you train to how do you train to be a product manager without
that is funny.
I don't know, being an IC or building something.
Yes,
but
please.
To be fair, there are companies, because I have a friend who actually went from school to become a product manager at Spotify. But she did I think a 1-year program first. So I'm guessing during that 1-year program, she was doing something other than being a product manager. So maybe learning something here and there.
Yeah, man.
So but that's a privilege not everyone.
Exactly.
Not everyone
That's a survival bias. Right? Like see, look, life is, people speak from privileges a lot and they tend to forget reality. Most startups are going to fail because of all this beginner product manager kind of thing, because you want to grow into the role. Because you are dealing with the most complex part of two complex parts of the business, the product and the people building the product. You cannot communicate with these people if you have not spent time learning how to communicate, okay, how to manage their time. If they tell you, knowing when they are bullshitting you, like telling you that, okay, you don't know anything. They'll just tell you, okay, this is the demo we have. Okay, yeah, this works. And I've seen shitty products come out of very, very highly funded companies. And they have a lot of product managers.
Google actually fired all their product managers one particular year. I think.
Are you serious?
I don't remember the year, but they did that, and eventually, I think they hired some people back. Yeah. But essentially, they saw that they didn't need the product managers, so the engineers could decide things for themselves.
Of course.
But of course, after
I need a link to that.
Yeah,
I need to read that. Yeah.
I think it was Eric. I don't know how to pronounce his name. The former CEO. Yeah.
Yes,
he wrote a book about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you see, the thing you want to know, right, is that if you're going to lead people, you have to have done what they are doing. Because, like, for example, Christopher Nolan, famous director. Everybody on a Christopher Nolan set knows that Christopher Nolan will not tell you to do what he cannot do. And that's why it makes an amazing movie. In fact, I swear, I'm probably sure there's a boot camp for movie directors. They're not going to make anything. They're just going to be like the whole product manager, right? That thing we were talking about. You have to be in the game before you can lead people in the game. That's what I believe in. You cannot, you cannot be effective if you have not played before. Like, how are you going to lead? Like, for example, Sarah Drasner, which is a very good friend of mine. Like, I love everything she's done. She's now an engineering manager at Google. And if the impact she's had, even moving Angular to like a place where it's now like, it's like a comeback, you will know that this is a player. And if you follow Sarah Drasner's journey, you could see how she's a builder, first of all. Like, she had mad animation skills. Damn.
Yeah.
Then she moved, she worked at Netlify. I think at the point she worked at Microsoft, and now she's at Google. Like, she's been a player. So she knows how to manage other players. You can't manage other players if you don't know how they play. Come on. Like, sometimes we just play too much with this thing. So I'm like, I am happy to announce I'm not a product manager.
Oh my God. All right, Kelvin, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Come for you.
Let's talk a little bit about creating content, your content creation process. So you started TKYT, I think, a while back. TKYT, for those who don't know, is Teach Kelvin Your Thing. And Kelvin gets very, very interesting people on his show. I don't know how he does it, but I feel like he's going to give us some nuggets so that we can start to get we've gotten one interesting person today. We've had interesting guests in the past, actually, but on Kevin's show, you'd see a bunch of people doing very, very amazing stuff. And I'm actually curious, how do you get these guys to come on the show, right? And what's the origin story for TKYT? What was the motivation? What's your content creation process like? How do you plan for the episodes or what to talk about?
Yeah. So, so first of all, the motivation for TKYT is a combination of two things. First is the book I read a long time ago. I read it 3 times. It's called Mastery by Robert Greene. In the book, there was this story where how people learn in the early days, right? You know all this old school form learning. I kind of feel it's handicapped, but that's a story for another day. So when you are training to be an artist, like a sculptor, you go to the studio, you watch the master sculptor sculpt. You watch how because there are certain things that can't be taught by, rote, like theories. You watch how he's chiseling. You watch, because there are things people do subconsciously that they can't even say. They've been doing it for so long, it's part of them. So I started TKYT out of need to watch people use the tools that they've built. And it was inspired by Learn with Jason, partly. So 2 inspiration, the book and Learn with Jason. So Learn with Jason is a show by Jason Lenkstoff, which is...
I love Learn with Jason.
So his own is kind of reverse of mine. His is that you're going to teach him and he's going to code it live. Mine is you're going to code it yourself. And I'm going to watch you code it. Because other than you using the tool you've built, there are so many things I would learn picking up from you and conversations that we wouldn't even have had if I went to your documentations to learn it. So it has been really successful. And the other thing on how I get interesting people is I just try to be interesting and I try to put their needs before mine. Because I find that interesting people like other interesting people. And sometimes when people want to make an ask, they are very selfish. They don't know how to ask someone. Because collaboration happens when my needs and your needs overlap. So this is it. When I'm meeting someone, like let's say the guy who made Angular, Mishko Every, how I met him was simple. I'd be like, hey Mishko, I've seen you be working on Quick. Do you want to come talk about it?
Okay.
It's different from hey, Mishko, I have a growing YouTube show. It will do me a lot of good and a lot of views if you come to the show. See the difference? One is focused on what I want. Mishko don't give a shit about what I want. But Mishko give a shit about what Mishko is building.
Yeah,
so if you tell Mishko to come tell me about what you're building, Mishko will be, yeah, of course. Why the heck not? All right. So that's what I've seen. So sometimes when people come to my DM and make their ask, I just delete it because it's very, what do I care about what you want? I don't care about what you want. Right? So you have to know how to ask people based on their interest. That is how to get people to do things. So it's not manipulation, it's just normal social reciprocity. Because if I come and be like, you know what? Because if you ask anybody to talk about themselves, for example, people love talking about themselves. Maybe except me, because I hate talking about myself. It's just weird. So most people like talking about themselves. Most people like to tell their stories, right? So if you want to get a conversation started, just ask people about themselves. They're just going to give you a whole story. But if you come to the person and you start talking about yourself, you're not really interested, really. You're not. Because everybody care about themselves. So that's how I meet people. In fact, like I saw something called Local First today and a couple of technologies around it. And I've literally have potentially 2 bookings for TKYT just today when I reached out to them. Because this is my pattern. First of all, I'm an interesting person. I have done 70 TKYT sessions already, give or take. So I start with that. Say, hey, I start with that. I'll be like, hey, I saw your stuff. I do a show called TKYT. Come teach me about your thing. This is my body of work. Because interesting people will not waste their time most of the time on someone who is not interesting. And one of the interesting things I've done is that I've been able to have 70 people come to TKYT. It's not an easy feat. So that will catch their interest. Who is this person? They'll go check it out. Oh, I see you have this and that person. I like this and that person. So if this and that person came to your show, why the hell would I not?
Fair. Playing the long game.
So that's it. So like on YouTube, most people want their first. In fact, some people send me their first video to tweet. I never tweet it because it's rubbish. Your first video is going to suck. You don't want your first video. You don't even want me to see your first video. You suck. Right? So like what Mr. B said, he said your first 100 videos you're just learning. But most people don't want to play this long game. They just want to post show like, oh, my first video have 10,000 views. Dude, except by a stroke of luck and by some weird misfit in the world, your first video is not going to have that views. If you're a nobody knows about you. Nobody's going to share your stuff. Your title sucks. Your thumbnail sucks. The content sucks. Your camera quality sucks. So what will bring the people to come watch it? Because you're just learning the ropes. So quit the posturing and get to work being interesting. And then you can get all these opportunities. Like, I think I am scheduled to have the creator of HTMX on the show in May.
Oh, I'm going to listen to that, definitely.
Yeah. And it's not an easy person to get on your show because these are busy people. So before they can come, you have to make it worth their while by preparing to go and I know that, oh, this is an interesting person. And sometimes people, in fact, I think I don't see my channel the way I say it and the show. Some people are very grateful for even coming because they feel like this, okay, maybe in their mind and everybody else's mind, the show is very big, but to me, it's not even scratched the surface of what I want it to be.
Sometimes we feel like that too, Emmanuel. Like when people come on the show, we're like, But yeah, I totally agree, right? Because I think I told Emmanuel the other day, I think I asked him if he could go back to listen to our first ever episode on this podcast. And I don't think he can. Because you're just learning the ropes and you literally have to just grow with all the reps that you're putting in. Right?
Yeah.
So Kelvin, we're going to let you go in a bit, but would like you to talk about Sailsconf. I know your conference is coming up next month. So would you like to talk to the people listening to this, a little bit about it?
Yeah. So Sailsconf, first of all, I've been holding the virtual one, which is Sailsconf normally for 3 years. So this year, I wanted to call it Sailsconf Nigeria and just have like a physical one. But I thought like, come on, why not Sailsconf Africa and just do it by continent? And the reason why I'm even doing this conference is that like, I like to be the change I want to see in the world. And in our ecosystem, I think our conferences suck for what tech conference is supposed to be. And I'm not the only one saying this. People are already complaining. There's more inspiration than tech, right? And there are fewer conferences for mid-level and senior developers. In fact, if I go to a conference, I barely last an hour because
I think Chuka and I have we've talked exactly about this topic.
But today I'm not going to make any comments. So Kelvin, keep going.
So I wanted a conference. Like I wanted a conference that is a proper conference, a conference where people come and meet other senior mid-level web developers, a conference where you can launch your open source project on stage, a conference that is technical to the core.
Oh, that's dope.
Like if you see the lineup of talks, you don't see any inspiration there. I told people, I don't want newbies there. I don't want inspiration talks there. Right? And
you shouldn't chase newbies away.
No, there are people that are perpetual newbies, and if you don't challenge them to come up, they will always remain a newbie forever. So, like I told newbies last year that I've left you all the newbies. I don't even care about newbies anymore because there are people that are asking the same questions every year. Oh, I have imposter syndrome. Dude, you don't have imposter syndrome if you have not done anything. Imposter syndrome are for people who have done stuff. You're just getting started. You don't have imposter syndrome. You have a skill issue. Go fix it.
Oh my God.
It's just common sense, right? So I don't want newbies there. I want people who are in this. So if you see all the people, in fact, I have a couple of people who have built frameworks, some who have built VS Code extensions. Coming there, these are people with 5, 6, 7, 10 years of experience coming on stage to really do a proper technical conference. And this is just the beginning. I want a conference where the speakers are rock stars and the attendees are also rock stars in web development.
Word.
Right, so that's what we need. Our ecosystem need to mature past inspiration, mental health, and all those other things. They are good, but they're not great. It's a tech conference. I want React Miami in Nigeria, where people launch stuff, where in fact, a company will pay for all their developers to attend because when they come back, they're going to learn stuff they can apply. How many tech conferences will you go? You will learn stuff you can apply to your job. You get to get inspired. If you want to get inspired, go watch a TED Talk. It's a conference talk. It's a tech conference. So we are developers here, so let's geek out. So that's what I'm doing Sailsconf Africa. 2-day event, 2 workshops in the first day. We are also spicing up because, like I like spice. We're going to do something called the Squiddy Games, where from the first to the second day is the final gameplay. We're going to win ₦1 million. One person win ₦1 million from just playing the games. So that's one way of us spicing it up. And we're going to do a panel session on the first day, which is the state of web development in Africa. It's going to be spicy too, because you all know I'm going to be part of the panel and I can't keep my mouth shut for things I don't like. It's going to be hot.
Love it.
Yeah.
Man, and fun fact, it's also in Abuja. This is not a conference in Lagos, which is very interesting to see.
Yes, please. Lagos is overhyped. I want tech to move away from Lagos.
Love it. We're going to include the link to registration and whatnot in the show notes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
We talked so much about tech that I'm even thinking this question I'm about to ask doesn't make any sense. So we usually do this with all our guests at the end of the show. We ask, what would you be doing in tech? Sorry, what would you be doing if you are not in tech? But that's quite difficult for you, isn't it?
No, not at all.
I'm actually very curious. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, it's not at all. I'm very ambitious person. So a couple of things, 2 things, which I'm still going to do anyways. I'm going to be a badass film composer because I like film music.
Okay.
Like Hans Zimmer.
And yes, Hans Zimmer inspired John Williams. Because I always love music. I play the piano. Music is just amazing. And how to tell a story with music, in fact, it's harder than coding, really. And Hans Zimmer does a good job. And I'll also be building businesses. I have a plan of making a park, a cinema. I like business. I like building stuff. So I'm going to be in business. In fact, I actually tweeted casually that I want to have an airline. I was kidding, but not so kidding. But I feel like I like the business of owning an airline and, trying to do all the things right that I still suck in it. It's a very long stretch. I think I want to do it. And I also want to have an animation studio. You see, a lot of things. So I'm not all tech.
I was going to say sales though. Yeah. I was going to say you're probably going to do sales. But business sales.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, of course. No. These are all sales, right? Because I want to have animation studio who tells our African story with global interest. Like I'm talking about Toy Story kind of animation, but African stories. So
have you seen Iwaju, the animation from Disney?
No, I haven't seen that one, but I've seen a couple of African animation that I don't really like. First of all, the story always suck. They don't do well with good stories. So because one thing that makes Toy Story, Shrek, or all these cartoons we grew up watching is the story. And
the storytelling was great.
Because you live it, you remember the story. We don't know how to tell stories yet. So I want to be able to tell our African story so that my kids can grow up watching it as well. Because whether you like it or not, these things impact our lives. I heard a story of someone who watched Moana, quit his job and started a business. That's an adult.
Wow. Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I can go watch them because I don't remember the story again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so good story always stick.
Yeah, we had a guest on the show that's doing something quite similar, and she has an animation studio, and she's trying to push for that as well. Yeah, so
I'll check it out. Yeah, just send me the link because I really want that to happen.
Her studio is called Creole Animation, and she's pretty dope. We had her on the show last year. Man, Kelvin.
She also does music, and
she also does music. Yeah, wow. You probably know her.
I'll definitely look her up.
Yeah,
right?
you should search for her. Yeah, Kelvin, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I had so much fun listening to you and having this conversation. I'm very sure Emmanuel and I have a couple of things to go and hash out in the background. Yeah, but this was really fun. We're so glad we had you over, and we wish you all the best with Hagfish, with Sailsconf, and every other thing you're doing. Keep being you, keep working. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you, Shuka and Emmanuel. This was great. Thank you for letting me be spicy in here. But I love it. I had fun.
All right.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We release new episodes every month. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And if you enjoy the show as much as we do, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review so the podcast reaches more people.
A huge shout out to the amazing team that makes this show possible. This includes John Ayeni, Faith Idowu, Angela Adelowo, and Ukechuku Nwachuku. Connect with us on social media at Inside the Techos on Instagram and Twitter, and Inside the Techosystem on LinkedIn. All right, I'll see you in the next one.